Hello there, folks. It's Nerdy John here, and today we're going to be looking at Victoria 2 for the PC. Victoria 2 is part of one of the many franchises that Paradox Interactive has involving historical strategy. But instead of being in medieval times or late Renaissance or Rome or World War II, it is obviously the Victorian era. A very interesting time in history for sure. You have the Industrial Revolution, you have the scramble for Africa, and the game doesn't have like a set historical path per se like Hearts of Iron 4 does, but if you play as one of the major powers, the game will relatively stick to the same path. Prussia will eventually form into Germany if the player doesn't get involved in that. Although one interesting thing you can do is if you activate it early enough, playing as Russia, you can become the Soviet Union. I'm not an expert on this game, but it's really fun. Instead of focusing on war, really, you're going to be focusing a lot on economics, building up your factories, building railroads so that way you can, make supply lines more efficient. You're going to be focusing on population too, because your population will determine your army size, how many people working in factories, how much money you'll be making from taxes, etc. Another interesting thing to mention is the fact that you don't have to play as the great powers. You could play as a secondary power in Europe and slowly build up your country to where you could eventually become a great power later down the line during the game. Now, one thing that is really difficult to do is westernizing when you're playing as an uncivilized nation like Japan or China. It's very difficult, especially if you're playing as an uncivilized nation in Africa, especially since in the first part of the game, Britain already has a hold on Africa, so they could take you out if you're not careful enough. And if you expand too much, some of the powers will come in and want to dismantle you. Now, I'm sure you're wondering what I mean by that. Well, in the game, to balance out the fact that if you were a super powerful country, you could go to war constantly and just wreck everyone, there is a infamy system set up, and when you're trying to justify a war against another nation, it's going to cost you infamy unless you already have a pre-existing reason for declaring war. If your infamy gets too high, certain areas of land you control will start to want to rebel. Also, other countries will begin to form alliances against you, so you need to make sure that you balance everything out. The way to reduce infamy is simply just don't go to war, and I believe you can get certain events that reduces infamy for you. However, it is a very slow process, so you gotta pick and choose when you want to go to war. One thing against Victoria 2 is the fact that it's not a beginner's strategy game. I am, familiar with the genre. Definitely not an expert, but I wouldn't say I'm a novice. But even I have a hard time adapting to this game, and I'm still not familiar with all of the mechanics, but I'm still having a really good time. If I were to recommend a Paradox game that could get you into strategy, it would definitely be Hearts of Iron 4. But this is still a great game that you should get down the line. And ironically, with all the DLC and everything, it is technically one of the cheaper Paradox games. You're not going to be paying $300 for DLC. Everything completed is around $60, which is what you would pay for a full-priced game. However, if you don't want to do that, the standard version is about $20, and often you'll see it on sale for like $5. So if you want to do that instead, you can definitely do that. However, I would absolutely recommend the full version along with the EVP. What is it? The VHP mod. VP. I'll put the actual proper text for it on screen because for some reason I'm stuttering like crazy. So that was Victoria 2. Overall, a fantastic game, which, let's be honest, will probably never get a sequel. But still check it out. Again, I recommend the HPM mod because playing vanilla Vic 2 is kind of a... Well, it's not janky per se, it's just... wouldn't recommend it.
Hey, nerdy. You forgot about me, didn't you?
Oh, hey, Shadow Moon. Weren't you supposed to, come in during my anniversary video and, like, make a big announcement or something?
Yeah, well, let's just say I was occupied. I needed to get everything gathered up so that way I know you could truly suffer. You see, the reason why I wanted to spring this announcement on you for your 3rd year anniversary is because, well, if I remember, there was a movie that you were supposed to do for your 1-year anniversary, but you never got around to it. I think you know which film I'm talking about.
No, not that movie. No. No.